Good morning and welcome to the North Slope Borough Community Health Hour. My name is Olivia Kim, Health Educator for the Prevention Unit. This show is brought to you by the North Slope Borough Health Department. July is Minority Mental Health Month, and today we want to spend some time celebrating and uplifting the beautiful diversity of our communities by speaking on minority mental health challenges and stigmas while highlighting the important role cultural values play in our health and wellness. What is a minority? In common usage, a minority is defined as a group in society with the least number of individuals or less than half a population. Minority groups often experience a subordinate status to the dominant group, meaning they have less access to resources, opportunities, influence, and power. They are often underrepresented. They may face discrimination and unequal treatment due to certain characteristics by the dominant group in society. Minority groups can be defined by racial or ethnic background, ideology, or sexual orientation. Examples of minorities include racial and ethnic, such as Native American or Alaska Native, Pacific Islander, Asian, Hispanic, Black, or African American. Other examples are women, LGBTQ individuals, religious groups, people with disabilities, and immigrants. Today, we honor all minorities and underrepresented groups, but for the sake of this episode, we'll be focusing on the mental health challenges and cultural values of the largest racial and ethnic minorities that reside in the North Slope. According to the US Census, the race and ethnic makeup of the North Slope Borough is estimated to be 60.3% Inupiat, 13% white, 10.7% Asian, 7.92% multiracial, 3.29% Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander, 3% Hispanic, 0.3% Black or African American. A beautiful thing about our communities is that national minorities make up the majority. On the North Slope, the Inupiat people are the majority, but on a national level, the majority of our residents would be considered a minority. As stated before, the three largest minority groups in the North Slope are Inupiat, Asian, and Pacific Islander. The latter two groups are very broad and include many different ethnicities and cultures, but for simplicity, we will try to focus on challenges they face as a whole. Amongst all three groups, we find high rates of suicide, substance use, anxiety, and depression linked to historical and intergenerational trauma, discrimination and racism, and socioeconomic factors. For all three groups, there is a legacy of colonization, displacement, or forced disconnection from the land and cultural practices. There is the stress of adapting to a new culture, new language, new ways of being and seeing the world. There is a disconnection of identity that comes with trying to adapt and survive in a world so different from the ones of their ancestors, of the world they are rooted in. There is a weakened sense of belonging that impacts mental wellness. Amongst Asians, family expectations and the model minority myth, the pressure to be high achieving and successful both academically and professionally, are also a contributing factor to mental health challenges. Speaking openly about mental health is also discouraged and can lead to shame and silence around seeking help. The same goes for Pacific Islanders. In many Inupiat communities, there is a lack of access to and awareness of mental health professionals or services that keep the issues ongoing. Amongst all these communities, it is important to have providers who understand their cultural background and even speak their language. When I consider these specific challenges, I find a few questions at the root of them. Who am I? How do I fit in? Where do I belong? How do I make sense of my life and my place in the world? Being part of a minority myself and having faced my own struggles with mental health, challenges with depression, anxiety, substance use, and low self-worth, I've come to understand how much those questions shaped those challenges. As a Korean American, I grew up with one foot in two different worlds. One foot in the world of my ancestors, which told me to be one way, and one foot in the world of my birth, which told me to be another. The task of making sense of these two identities is not an easy one, and for many children of immigrants can create a sense of tension or disconnection within the self. In my culture, talking about our feelings was never encouraged. Koreans have struggled throughout history. They have been colonized, they've been forced into migration, war, and poverty. The collective belief is that no matter how hard it gets, we put our heads down and keep going. We don't complain about how hard we have it because we all have it hard. When things get hard, we work harder. We keep our personal struggles to ourselves for the good of the collective. But that does not mean that our personal struggles do not exist. And what makes it so difficult to come to terms with them, to begin to speak about them, is the expectation not to. The expectation to keep the pain hidden, to not be a burden, to make our parents' sacrifices worth it. We hear the stories of our parents' struggle and the struggles of their parents before them, growing up in broken homes and broken countries, building a life for themselves alone in a place where they don't know the language or the culture. And we tell ourselves that our struggles are nothing compared to theirs. But once again, that doesn't mean they don't exist. That doesn't mean we don't feel, face our own challenges and traumas. Keep those things buried long enough and they will come back to bite you. That's what happened to me. And for many years, my entire family suffered because of it. Resentment, disconnection, explosive fights became the norm. It took me most of my life to realize that keeping my struggles hidden was what kept me stuck in cycles of shame and pain. And once I realized that, slowly, I began to let people in, and letting people in allowed me to heal. Opening up about my mental health challenges, finding the courage to face those challenges shook my entire world. It changed so many things about me, but it also brought me back to myself in a way that I had never expected. And finally, being honest with my family about what I had been through, about all the things I'd been holding on to, brought my family back together. It allowed us to heal together and understand each other in ways we'd never been able to before. It can be very easy to forget that the expectation to not speak up, to stay hidden, is just an expectation. We may feel afraid of rejection or criticism from those around us, but you never know what you'll find on the other side. All it takes is one conversation to begin to break the stigma. By letting go of what we've been holding on to, we begin to help those around us learn that it's okay to do the same. We'll spend some time now talking about values and how they contribute to our health and wellness. Values provide a sense of purpose, direction, and meaning in life. They act as an inner compass that guides us towards what's important. Our values help us make decisions, interact with others, and shape how we perceive the world and ourselves. They contribute to our emotional health by giving us strength and perspective during times of uncertainty, stress, inner conflict, or conflict with others. For example, if you value honesty and a person close to you did something that unintentionally hurt you, you'd find a way to communicate that you were hurt rather than just brushing it off. Values provide a framework to navigate difficult emotions. Rather than avoiding or suppressing these emotions, you can use your values to focus on what matters and take aligned steps. When our actions align with our values, it creates a greater sense of consistency and certainty within our lives, a sense that we know who we are and what truly matters. You can think of values like a foundation that we build our lives upon through action. Having a strong foundation can help reduce anxiety and depression, and also creates a sense of confidence, self-esteem, and resilience, especially when we continuously choose to align with values that are centered around positive and nurturing qualities, such as cooperation, respect, and compassion. When you know what your values are, you also learn what goes against them and can make choices accordingly, strengthening your ability to set boundaries. As we grow and take in new experiences, it's normal for our values to shift. The values you may have had as a child may not be the same values you choose to live your life by now. This quality of shifting and evolving is part of what makes us human. Growing up, we inherit a set of values, but as we grow, we have the power to choose what values we align our lives with. As social beings, we adopt the values of others as a way of creating connection and empathy. In this instance, our values don't just support our well being, but the well being of a community or social group. The values shared by such a group are our cultural values. Cultural values are important because they connect you to something bigger than yourself. They have been passed down from generation to generation and are the culmination of the lived experiences of our ancestors. They connect us not only to our physical community, but to the past and the future. Our cultural values are qualities and practices that teach us what it means to be a good person and create a sense of unity as our people have survived and thrived through various challenges. Cultural values create social bonds that foster a sense of cooperation and belonging. As I mentioned earlier, these bonds are special because they transcend place and time, creating a web of connection between us, our ancestors, and our descendants. In the case of immigrants, these bonds travel vast distances and connect individuals to their homeland, even while they begin to adapt to the new values of their adopted homes. In a world where many different cultural values and frameworks interact with each other, learning to embrace the values of others is essential to promoting the well-being of a community as a whole. The acceptance that we see in our own communities promotes tolerance, respect, compassion, and cooperation, and ultimately allows our diverse community members to come together and thrive. Some values we might find in our communities include Inupiat values such as compassion, cooperation, love and respect for our elders and others, knowledge of our language, respect for nature, and sharing. Filipino values such as family relationships, hospitality, positivity, and humor, respect of elders. Thai values such as respect and harmony, non-confrontational communication, respect for parents, teachers, guardians, spirituality. Korean values such as respect for family, elders, and teachers, hard work, education, and collective harmony. Hawaiian values such as love, kindness, unity and harmony, family and close connections, helping others and the community. Samoan values such as family, community, respect, and service. Tongan values such as mutual respect, sharing, cooperation, reciprocity, humility and generosity, loyalty and commitment. Mexican values such as family, respect, generosity, humor, and joyfulness. African American values such as family and community, resilience, spirituality and faith, and self-expression through music and art. Although North Slope residents come from all across the world, amongst all groups, there is a strong emphasis on respect for elders and others, family and kinship, cooperation and harmony, humility and compassion, and spirituality and culture. These shared values contribute to strong community bonds and mutual understanding amongst our diverse population. Today, for our weekly wellness practice, we'll be exploring our own relationship to values, culture, and mental health with a few reflection questions. Please grab a sheet of paper and pen or your phone to write them out and revisit them later when you have some time. These reflection questions are designed to help you connect with your own values and explore your own cultural influences on self-care. We'll start with questions on values. So the first question is, what values are important to you? Once again, what values are important to you? These can be concepts such as family, compassion, honesty, love, or any of the values that I mentioned before. The next question, how do these values show up in your life and how do they support your well-being? Once again, how do these values show up in your life And how do they support your well-being? Moving on now to culture. The first question, what does your culture mean to you? What does your culture mean to you? The next question, in what ways does your culture support self-care? In what ways does your culture support self-care? The next question, in what ways does it hinder it? In what ways does it hinder it? And finally, how can you support yourself in those situations? How can you support yourself in those situations? Some examples may include taking some time for yourself, connecting with a loved one when you're struggling, or enjoying cultural foods and activities. I hope you find some time today or in the coming days to sit down and explore those questions. Understanding our values and the way our culture has shaped us and supports us goes a long way in understanding who you are and what you find to be important. Building that relationship with yourself is the first step in building a positive self-image. Can act as a support system when things get tough and adds to your overall sense of wellness. If there's anything from this episode that you'd like to learn more about, or if you have any questions that you'd like to be answered on the show, please reach out to me by email at olivia.kim@north-slope.org or by phone at 907-852-0344, extension 4116. Please note that we record our episodes in advance, so the answer to your question will air a couple of weeks later. Now on to some announcements. Our Saturday cornhole tournament is ongoing and will be held this Saturday at the Browerville Fire Station from 6 to 9 p.m. This is part of our initiative focused on raising awareness for men's mental health. From August 26th through 28th, the North Slope Borough will be hosting a health conference here in Utqiagvik entitled The Power of Us, Healing Through Community Action. Join us for 3 transformative days of learning, healing, and connection through culturally grounded, trauma-informed sessions. The conference will include talks and evening keynote panels with the following speakers: postdoctoral clinical trainee at South Central Foundation 4 Directions in Anchorage, Dr. Becca Gueco-Villalon, Master in Counseling Psychology and Mental Health Advocate Allison Ukvik, motivational speaker and addiction recovery advocate Derek Moore, international speaker and suicide prevention advocate Mark Tamalay, professor of psychology at UAA, specializing in ethnic minority and post-colonial psychology, PhD EJR David, licensed clinical social worker and director of suicide prevention services at NAMI NH, Elaine DeMella. The event will also feature breakout tracks on wellness, substance use, cultural healing, and peer support, including suicide postvention training for our community coalition members across the slope and the Alaska blanket exercise. Each track is limited to 35 participants, so please register soon if you are interested. You can do so by scanning a QR code on our North Slope Borough Health and Social Services Facebook page, or by contacting Rachel Amavai by email at rachel.amavai, that's AUMAVE, at north-slope.org, or calling the prevention unit at 907-852-0366. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. We hope you found it insightful and learned something that can help you on your own health and wellness journey. Next week, we honor National Breastfeeding Awareness Month with an interview with mother of 3, Ali Terziowski, and coordinator of public health nursing, Teresa Caudio, where we discuss motherhood and pregnancy. If you'd like to catch the replay of this episode or any of our previous episodes, you can visit the North Slope Borough Health and Social Services YouTube page. Until next time, Koyanukbuk.